welcome to Amy Learns to Cook. I'm Amy, and on today's show, we are going to be making bread machine pizza dough. Once you learn how to make pizza dough in your bread machine, the sky's the limit in terms of toppings and sauces, and you can make a different pizza every single day of the week. So let's get started. Now, I love making pizza dough in my bread machine. It makes it so easy because all you do is dump, turn it on, and the machine makes the dough. An hour and a half later, you have some beautiful pizza dough. Now, you can make pizza dough in your stand mixer or with your hand mixer, but the bread machine makes it so easy. I suggest if you don't have one, look into them because you can make all kinds of great things in a bread machine. This is my favorite bread machine. It's the Breadman Ultimate, and I actually have several bread machines, and I put them to the test by making the same recipe in two different bread machines to see what results that I got, and consistently this one gives me the best dough and bread that I can make in a bread machine. So this is my favorite bread machine. And pretty much it's simple. This bread machine just has a pan on the inside that you put your ingredients in, and has a little dough hook that does all your mixing and kneading and everything else. And once you put your ingredients in this, you just snap the pan back into place, close the door, and set your controls. Now you're going to set whether you want it, what type of bread, or whether you're making dough, and the machine will automatically knead the dough and bake it if you're baking bread, or it'll alert you when the dough is finished. It's so easy, and it makes pizza making just a breeze. So let's get started. Okay, so now we're going to take the pan out of our bread machine, and we're going to be mixing our ingredients. We have our paddle attachment in here on the post, and we are going to start loading it in. So we need first 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water, and this water should be just above body temperature so it will activate the yeast. So we're going to put in 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water. And as the dough mixes, we might have to adjust the water. We're going to watch it, and we may have to adjust the water a little bit depending on how dry your flour is or how humid it is, just to make sure that the dough comes together in a ball. So we put our water into our pan, and we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And this is really good olive oil. We got 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then next we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of sugar. So that's 2 tablespoons of sugar. And one of the reasons why we're putting these ingredients in here first, and we're going to put the flour on top, and then the yeast is going to go on top of the flour, because you want to separate the yeast from the sugar and the salt, because that's what can inhibit your yeast. So if we mix them all together, we might not get the rise we want out of it. So we've got 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we're going to put in 1 teaspoon salt. Okay, so now we're going to put in our flour, and we are going to use 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Now for pizza dough, you want to use all-purpose instead of bread flour because we don't want a lot of gluten development. We want a nice, chewy pizza dough. So we are going to be using all-purpose. So I use the scoop and swipe method. You basically scoop the flour and use the back of a knife and you swipe it off so you get 1 full cup of flour. Because baking really requires very exact measurements. And the more familiar you get with making bread, you'll learn how the the feel and the texture of it, so you can adjust your flour or water. But for your first few times, make sure you measure pretty accurately. So that's 2, and this is our 3rd cup. 3 cups of flour. And the star of the show is our yeast. And this is just regular active dry yeast. I don't use rapid rise or bread machine yeast because I want it to rise a little bit slower, because yeast is what really gives it a lot of flavor. And if you get this super powerful yeast that just boom like that, you really don't get a lot of flavor out of it. So just use regular active dry yeast. And we are going to be using 2 teaspoons. And in here, we want to make a little well inside, so there's a little hole to put our yeast in. So we're going to put 2 teaspoons of yeast in here. And now we are ready to go. Okay, so just as easy as it was to mix all these ingredients, it's just as easy to get the bread machine to do the rest of the work for us. So we're just going to take the pan and we're going to lock it down into place into the bread machine. Make sure it's locked so your paddle is connected. Close her up and set your controls. So we are going to select the dough setting. And because we're not, ordinarily you have to, if you're doing bread and you're baking it, you have to select the loaf size and the crust, whether you want it light, medium, or dark. But since we're doing just dough, we're just going dough, and we're hitting start. And the bread machine is going to do some initial mixing, and then it's really going to take off when it starts to knead. So we will be back as soon as our dough is ready. Okay, so our beeper just went off, so our dough is ready to go. And we're just going to take it out of the bread machine. And it looks like this. And as soon as you do it, it's going to deflate some. Don't worry about that, because it's basically punching it down itself. So we are getting ready to roll it out. Okay, so now we're going to roll our dough out, and we're going to need a little extra flour so our dough doesn't stick to the board. So go ahead and spread out some flour. And then we are going to get our dough out of the bread machine pan. And it's a little sticky. Got the paddle with it, so I'm going to go ahead and get the paddle out of there. And pretty much you don't have to do a lot of kneading with this dough. We're gonna be spending most of our time working it into our shape. So go ahead, to do your kneading, you wanna just pick up a corner and put a little weight on it. Pick up a corner and put a little weight on it. And we wanna just keep doing that until we kind of have a smooth ball. One more flour here. And you can smooth out your dough by just cupping your hands around it and spinning it around like this, and it'll form it into a nice loaf. Technically, we could put a slash mark through there and bake this just like this. Let it rise again, we'll have a loaf of bread. But we're making pizza, so let's go ahead and try to get it into a little bit of a ball shape, and now we're going to roll it. Okay, so we're going to take our rolling pin, we're going to put a little bit of flour on our rolling pin, and we're going to go ahead and roll this out. Now, if you want one large pizza, you can use this to make one pizza. You can also cut it and make as many pizzas as you want. If you want to make a little mini pizza, go ahead and cut it into 2 or even 4 pieces and make some mini pizzas. Today, for some reason, I feel like a square pizza. So let's see if we can get this into a square. What's kind of difficult about rolling out pizza dough is it just sometimes likes to, you roll it and it just shrinks back. So you just got to keep working it and keep rolling it until you get it the shape you want and the thickness that you want. If you like really thick pizza, then roll it really thick. If you like really thin pizza, roll it really thin, right? I like it somewhere in between. I do like the crust. That's actually one of my favorite parts because I'm a bread person. So, seems like I eat the crust and my husband comes along and eats all my toppings off of it. So that's just how that works. And you keep rolling it until you get it where you want it. Got to put a little muscle into it. Okay, and then we're going to stretch it a little bit. I want mine to be square, so I'm going to stretch it and roll it this way. Actually, it's going to be rectangle. For some reason I feel a little square, so I'm going to roll it a little square. And I'm not an expert roller by any means. So just keep working the dough until you get it where you want it. Make sure it's pretty even. And I would say that it's starting to look like a pizza. I got a little air bubble right there. It's starting to look like a pizza. So we're going to be baking this pizza in the oven. You actually could do this on the barbecue if you would like, but we're going to be putting in the oven. And what I have is just a regular cookie sheet lined with a piece of parchment paper. And this is going to make cleanup a breeze. So we're going to fold the pizza dough back and we're going to get it onto our sheet here. Okay. And now we are just going to work this a little bit to reform our square shape for our square pizza. This dough looks really, really nice. This is going to be a great, great pizza. Okay, so now your dough is ready for some sauce, some cheese, and whatever toppings you feel like throwing at it. Now, we all know that the toppings could be elaborate and as simple as you would like. I happen to like just sausage and pepperoni. So that's what we are going to be putting on this pizza. If you would like this recipe, please log on to my website at amylearnstocook.com. Leave me a comment down below and a like if you like this recipe, and I hope you enjoy it.